Hey gang, Sean here from the Commander's Brew. This is a very special episode, and a bit of a sad one. It's Andy's last episode as a co-host here. We're not doing a deck tech, we're going to share some laughs, some memories, talk about old times, and wish him well in his future endeavors. And I'm sure he'll pop back in from time to time, but this is the end of an era. But not the end of Commander's Brew, don't worry.
Hello, everyone. It is episode 325 of the Commander's Brew, and
It's a very special episode.
it's a very special episode.
Yes.
There's no getting around it.
No?
It's like when they had those after-school specials, a very special episode of. This is going to be, it's probably in the title. Like, we're recording this, we don't have the title. I don't know what the title looks like.
Right.
There's no surprise here for anyone.
No.
This is it for me.
Yeah. Your tenure as Commander's Brew host has come to a close.
Yes, it is. And I'm being pushed out aggressively by Sean.
Yes.
He's taking over. It's a hostile thing. He's forcing me to do this even.
Yeah.
It's a very, very succession, situation we have over here.
I am the evil Sean from the other dimension.
See? We knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Last week I should have pursued that more.
No,
I could have found
no,
it out.
you didn't, and now you're out.
Now here I am. I'm done. This is not a joke, though. I am really done. That sounds so abrupt to be like, I'm done.
We joke. Yes, we joke. But this is big. This is big.
Yeah. So, there's no deck tech today. There's no, nothing like that. We're just gonna chat about the show. And so if you've been listening to the show and you've been around for a while, you might wonder what's up. Why? Well, it's so funny to come back for one episode last week and be like, I'm back, everyone. Here we go. Happy to be back. And then the next week be like, actually, I'm done. So if you've been listening to the show, I guess I'll just get into this a little bit. There's a lot of things happening right now. And, I was off because I had another baby. Baby Owen is here. I don't know if I said his name last week. Baby Owen's here, and as I'm sure many people have experienced, when you have two kids, things just ramp up as far as complexity and time and everything just gets wild. So that's happened, and even leading up to this, it's been really hard to put the time I want into the show, right? And let alone then get enough out of it where I'm feeling like satisfied from like a creative and creator standpoint, right? Because that's part of it too, right? I honestly feel like that's something that a lot of creators don't talk about a lot, and even artists in general maybe. But you've got to derive something out of it too, right? There's a we got into this because it was fun and fulfilling, and we wanted to do it, and so if those sorts of things start to like wane a little bit, it can take away from it for you. But it's not like I was having no fun. It's always fun every week to record, and like last week's episode was a true laugh. The beginning of it, we had a good old laugh before we even got into the deck tech. So it's always a fun time. It's always been a fun time. It's just that things are just filling up, and I'm not just able to put as much time and effort into the show like I should. You know what I mean? Like it gets tough when it becomes like, it just becomes something you're kind of jamming into your schedule as opposed to something you are looking forward to doing every week. Even though I still have that as well, you know what I mean? Like it's
this does speak to like this is the actions of someone who does care, right? Like if you didn't care, then You just kind of just like phone it in for another 6 years, right? Then like that's so.
For another 6 years. Yeah, because I've been phoning it in for 6 years.
That's not what I mean. I mean, like
I
if you
know.
get to the point, like you know, like I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm hearing you say that you're like, yeah, this is fun and this is a great show. We like making it, but you know, there comes a time when it's just like you can't give it the time you feel it deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, right? And it's a hard decision to come to because
I can imagine.
you know this we've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't want to stop. There's this thing, especially when you're an artist as your career. There's a thing where you don't like you feel like you can't ever stop doing
Yeah.
any creative thing that you've ever started.
Yeah.
Like you feel, especially something like this where it's been so positive and been so received so well, and like we've made real friends from doing this show, both from our own listeners and viewers and like other creators and stuff. Like, yeah, that's I don't know. It's hard to it's hard to leave it because it we so much good has come from it. But yeah, like we said, it just feels like there is a thing. And when you're an artist and you get something good and it's like, oh my God, when's the next good thing going to happen? It's like, will it ever, will there ever be another good thing?
Right.
You really like, when you get, especially, man, it's a whole thing, right? You get to an age where you're like, am I going to start another one after this? Like, no, right? Probably not. I don't know, but who knows? But there's this thing in your brain where you just can't ever stop. It feels like, and you shouldn't stop. But I mean,
Yes.
I think it is actually I don't know. I think it's the right thing to do for the situation that I'm finding myself in.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like I said last week, we're Sarah and I, we got a house, so we're moving. There's 2 kids. I'm back to work. There's all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of life stuff happening right now, and
Yeah.
I was honestly feeling bad that I didn't have enough stuff going on for the show. So
Right. You've got enough stuff going on.
yeah, like I wouldn't put enough thought into the show, which is not right. So anyways, there you go. That's why it's a shame, but it's also
I mean, I don't want to judge it as a shame because I think that's the artist again. Like I'm hearing that, like, right, as artists, right, I can relate to a lot of that. Like we like it is sometimes they're like, oh, if you ever stop doing anything, bad move. Like that's nothing to be ashamed of, I don't think.
well, it's certainly a tough decision, but again, like I said, I think it makes sense for what's happening. So enough about that. Enough about you know getting to that decision, because well, it is tough and everything. It's like it's not the whole thing that we're gonna do the show about today.
Right.
I just wanted to talk about. I just wanted to talk to you about the show,
Yeah.
about us doing the show together, and then maybe later we can talk about what might be coming next for the show. If there've even been any thoughts about that, but I don't know if we the funny thing is I don't know if we've ever actually fully told everyone the full I mean, it's not much of a story, but like there is a story of us doing this show. Do you remember I came to you, I got some podcasting gear as a Christmas gift, and I came to Sean and I asked him if he wanted to, well, I was like, I want to do a podcast. I badly wanted to do like my own show. I was helping, or I was like co-hosting my friend's other show at the time, but it was like his show, and I was just like helping, like I was like producing and like kind of on the show as well, but like it wasn't mine. I think I was doing that at the time. Anyways, but I wanted to do my own show, so I got Sean to come over to my place, and in my kitchen we recorded a podcast that had no name, and it was about just like nothing. It was about games. We just talked about and it really was. I really just wanted to try out the equipment, and I wanted to just do a podcast. That's my big thing about doing creative stuff is like, if you just start to do it, you'll figure out the rest along the way.
Totally.
Kind of, right? There's pros and cons to that approach. Let me tell you, in the long run. But it is still a good mentality, I think, to have for doing this line of work, because so many people, it's so daunting to start something like that, right? And there's so many reasons not to. There's so many people who will naysay things that you're doing. And if there's anyone out there who's ever thinking of doing something like this, I still am a victim of it myself too, even after this long of having this show, of like, I want to do something, I want to start something. Oh, but someone's doing something else like it. Or, oh,
yeah,
someone will say this isn't very good, or someone's going to think this isn't great. No, if you just do it, do it for yourself, and then figure out the other stuff along the way. And I think like there's some success to be had there. Anyway, so we just recorded the show about just chatting games. And I remember one of the things that you said, you were like, well, the show needs to be about something. And I was like, okay, for sure. Yeah. It does. No question. And that was, we were just getting into Magic more and more. Like,
yeah.
So I was like, well, been listening to Limited Resources, been listening to Command Zone.
Yep.
Which were they were limited, or not Limited Resources, but Command Zone was pretty new at the time. Like,
well, we don't forget, like, you were on an early episode
of
Command Zone. What, episode 3?
I think I was on episode, like, I think it's like 13.
13. Like,
might even be. Yeah, let me. I can. I can check.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I remember listening to you and our friend Brandon on that episode because you were living in Los Angeles at the time. And I remember listening to that episode, and we were in production at that point. Like this podcast was happening at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Man, the it all really, like, the time just gels together at that point when it's that long ago.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do something about Magic, and that's when we had like a little sit down and we chatted about Commander and what our ideas were about Commander and what we wanted to do. And this is another thing, like, at the time, like, I think you and I both, and I remember listening to Josh and Jimmy and thinking, like, I love the show, but I was like, but I want to do something like, I also wanted to hear more about, like, this aspect, like the budget aspect of Commander. And that was kind of what we both landed on and thought was people, like, if we wanted to hear it, there must have been more people who wanted to hear it. And turns out that was true. So
that was true. And like, when hearing it in hindsight, what do you think? We probably whipped up like 350, 400 Commander decks between the two of us.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So last week was episode 324. So, like,
and then we were doing two per for the first chunk.
400 at least, right?
Something like that. Like, we were doing 2 per episode at the beginning, and then we eventually realized, like, this is exhausting. Let's go down to 1 per episode. So like we've done an average of more than 1 per episode on average. And so all those Commander decks, we've made a lot of Commander decks. Hearing you tell the story, I haven't thought about this story in ages, but, like, if you had got that Christmas gift a year earlier or a year later, like the timing was just perfect because we were just kind of new into Magic and Commander. Like, it wasn't. Yeah. We weren't doing this for too long.
Command's on episode 34.
34.
So it was a little later than we both remember.
Okay.
That's how it's going to be.
Maybe we were on episode 3 when I remember listening to. I don't remember.
Yeah, we were very early. There wasn't that many Commander podcasts. This is the thing. Anyone who's, like, recently started listening to us, or even in the past few years, like, when we started this show, there was only, I think, 3 other, like Commander podcasts that you could, like, search and like find.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, easily findable.
Yeah.
There was Command Zone.
Mm-hmm.
There was Commanderin, which had also just started right before us. Like, I think they were only like 2 or 3 episodes ahead of us, essentially, in the numbering. and then there was the original, as far as I know, and as far as I remember, there was a show called Command Cast, which is so funny that's what Jimmy and Josh's Twitter handle is, because the Command Cast was an actual Commander podcast, and it was I don't remember who was on it. Because I only listened to a few episodes of it, but I did listen to it a little bit. But they were the OGs. They started, and then but that was kind of it. Five Commanders was one that Phil from Commander was into, but that had stopped by that point. And that's where Commander came out of. So it was a pretty. It's so funny to think of, like, what was it, 2014, 15?
2015, jeez.
2015. It was 2015, and that the like Commander creator content was that small.
Yeah, and this was right, like to give everyone some context too. Commander used to just be EDH. Eventually, Wizards released Commander decks and created the name Commander, like official Wizard property, like a summer or like a year or two before that.
Yeah.
Because I had the Animar, one of the first decks, an Animar deck that I was playing with first, and it was like that was my first Commander deck at around that time. So like like if we're talking math, it's impossible to have a Commander deck much before that because there was no Commander. It was just EDH.
That's true, and I mean EDH. That goes back a little farther, of course, but
they were called generals. Like no one called them command. Like that word, no one used that word, did they?
Well, when we started the show, yes, Commander had been
it was invented, but before that, we just called them our generals.
Before the format was called Commander, I suppose. Yeah, they were your generals. And I know, like you'll hear like Jason Alt still call them generals a lot, you know, for all the other content people out there. Like you'll hear, there's still some people who do that. And like it's writing articles, it's always like you need to find other words than Commander to use to like refer to what you're doing. I remember when I was writing articles, so you can use like generals for that. I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we that's where we kind of got a little kickstart from that too, right? Like doing Command Zone, Jimmy and Josh were so great to like boost the other content creators at the time, which, like I said, there weren't that many of us, but that's where we got like a little bit of a signal boost, and it was super, super helpful. And that's where we've become friends with those guys, and that's what it was, a nice little kickstart to our show. And then there we go from there. Right. Some of those early decks. I mean, some of those early decks still really stick in our memories. Like we will often, I found, refer to decks that we made in the first 10 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
And it's surprising to me.
Well, I also will admit that, you know, you find your groove making decks. Like, it doesn't take me very long to make a deck these days. And, you know, I could test it more. You know, I could like go at it more. In those early days, I like poured over every card in those decks. And like those decks I spent a lot of time with them, so they are memorable.
It's true. I remember for the Babes and Hunks one.
Yeah.
Going through the art, because that was like our first one that was really based on the art of the cards.
Yeah.
And that took a long time to look through cards to try and find, because it was like we didn't have color restriction for that deck.
No.
We didn't have a theme restriction other than the art. So you're just going through creature types, just looking through, like restricting it to, you had like, you branched out a little more. I stuck mine mostly to humans.
Oh yeah. Well, I had the hunks.
But you're the hunks, but like you had a bunch of demons.
Because the demons have, a lot of demons have weird heads, but like from the neck down, hunks.
Yeah, just ripped. Just
pecs.
swole.
Yes,
dudes,
swole
right?
dudes. I mean, the head, nightmare head.
Oh, absolute nightmare head. Horns, often, time. Yeah. Strange, like maybe a goat-like head type thing. I mean, don't get us started on Kuro Pitlord. Like, please.
We weren't even on, the irony of that episode is we weren't even on YouTube. That episode does not exist visually.
That's true.
So
that doesn't, yeah.
We were just you all just had to imagine the babes and the hunks on the deck.
But yeah. The I don't even really know when this. I mean, I guess you could look at the YouTube channel, but like our switch to YouTube was originally just going to be. I remember I was thinking about it because I was like, oh, let's put the show on YouTube, because I know some people when they're at work and they want to listen to podcasts, their work will block like downloading podcasts from and they can't get it from iTunes and stuff like that. So a lot of people were putting their audio shows on YouTube, and then you can just listen that way. My friend Scott Macaulay told me that. Like that's how he listened to our show.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's do that. And then once you make that jump, it's just another whole thing you're doing. Because then you want to make it look a little nicer, and then you're like, hey, can we record ourselves? No.
So the first one was we played with the Commander Precon with Mizzix. Episode 47 is the first one on YouTube. And I think the first one to get video might be, I mean, I'm just going by the thumbnails here, but I think it could be a Conspiracy 2 set review. Me and you on your couch at your house, holding microphones. Look, I had a beard at the time. My hair, I had no gray hair. Man, a little time capsule.
And we were recording on my laptop, which was not powerful enough to record. And I think we were using OBS, right?
Yeah.
I think we always have been using OBS to record.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. No. Yes, of course we were, because we had that overlay and stuff. Yeah, 47 is Mizzix.
Yeah.
And then we had we had episodes 1 and 2 up there in audio format only, because that's what I was like toying with.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole year in between then we actually started doing it for real. And someone else had actually... Oh, sorry. Someone had actually started doing it for us, like not on our own page, but on their own page.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, we got to start doing this.
Okay. Yeah.
Like this other person, whoever it is, I don't believe I ever found out, but you played a pretty big role in like forcing us to make the jump to YouTube in a very good way. Like it was nice that you were doing that. And
Yeah.
It's like we can provide this service. Like, you don't have to do it.
You can see our old logo.
Man, let me tell you about that logo. I thought that logo was really something when I made it in the like vector art program that I learned how to use.
Yeah.
And then our boy Matt Strott was like, hey man, let me give you guys a good logo.
And he did.
And he did, and he gave us logos for other things, and we've, as you can see, Battle of the Brews. Yeah, that's so yeah. Matt's been great to work with. I remember he also did the playmat that we did.
Yep.
Which, if you were around listening then, we used to do a bit at the end of the show where we'd interview a commander that we'd talk to, or someone from the deck, or like some character.
Yes.
And a lot of those characters made their way onto that playmat.
Yep.
And that was really fun. And one of the things, honestly, speaking candidly, like that was one of my favorite things to ever come out of the show was all those characters brought to life, like animated, like the way Matt did that was really great. And it's I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why we tried to like change the shape of the show over the years. And one of the things that was like not fun to lose was that, I think, in the end.
Yeah.
Right? Like doing those little improvised bits. Like Sean and I are both improvisers. You might know that if you've been listening for a long time, but like Sean, like you taught me and my sketch group at the time. You taught us how to do improv in like a real like structured way. Like we actually hired Sean to teach us improv.
Yeah.
Sean taught me magic. Sean taught me improv. So like, this is a really like huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
Really, like think about that. Like those Those are the two things that I do. I do
Yeah.
podcasts about magic, and my other job currently is at Second City, in the touring company. So like I wouldn't be there without knowing how to do that improv. I wouldn't be here without learning how to play magic. So think about that
I
when you
mean,
think about your impact on people's lives.
yeah,
It's wild.
it is
Thank you.
wild. It is wild. Yeah, I don't think about that very much. Yeah. Okay.
It's a very nice and very big thing, and I
Yeah.
think about it all the time. Um, what were we talking about? What was I going to say? Oh, we're improvisers. So that was a super fun part of the show. And I think one of the things, I could be wrong about this, but I think one of the things that has a little bit dogged us a little bit through our whole history of doing comedy bits, and we can talk about, I want to talk about the sketches that we shot
Yeah.
in a bit, but I think one of the things that dogged us is that like maybe not everyone knew that they were improvised.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Like I think there's maybe because when you watch something like that, you don't assume it's improvised.
I guess
You
not.
assume that it's like a bit that they're doing. It's like it might not even necessarily be written out as a script or anything, but like you'd think it's like a thought about, bit that we're doing, and we know everything that we're gonna say. But every single comedy thing we've ever done on this show and on YouTube and on everything is all improvised
Yeah.
in the moment. Like we had we did Brews News,
Right.
which we knew we had like again like bits that we wanted to do. So like the movie review thing with Bruce Tarl, Bruce and Bruce,
Bruce and
right?
Bruce watching
Man, I
DVDs.
watched one of those. I watched one of those the other day. It's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that not blow up?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe people didn't realize it was.
But I was watching it. I'm like, I don't know if people knew these were improvised, because if you knew, it's the funny thing about improv is when you know, you're like, oh man, this is great. But if you don't know, you're like, this is what they came up with.
Yeah, that's
You
an
know what I mean?
excellent point.
When it's in the moment, it's so much more magical, and it's always way funnier. But you have to be privy to that. You have to kind of know that. And it's funny that this long after, I've actually thought about it lots of times before this, where I'm like, maybe our problem was that they didn't know we were improvising it. But maybe they did, and that's just the way it worked out too. Also, though, right? I don't want to speak for everyone who's ever watched our stuff.
Yeah. No, well, we made them up. We had little loose premises, as Andy said, but yeah. We're creating those jokes on the fly.
Yeah, that's what we do, right?
That's what we do.
Yeah. One of the things we I think we always aimed to make. One thing I will say this. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for you, but I think you and I always aimed to make this show funnier than we ended up making it. Like, there's a thing where like we're doing deck techs.
Yeah.
You got to talk about the cards a lot.
The deck techs aren't hilarious.
Right. Because like, how could they be, right? They're just like lists of cards. And I think we struggled figuring out how to balance that.
Right.
And I think we ended up leaning towards, you know what, it's kind of a utility thing. When we started the show, we wanted to do a budget podcast and like it to be decks and cards, that people, that people would listen to that, and that's why they would listen. And then there's a little like additional comedy part that they could consume if they wanted to, right? I kind of thought about limited resources and how the sign off for the co-host, right?
Yeah.
Like, was always a little additional thing. It was at the end of the episode. You didn't have to listen to it if you didn't want to. So I think since that's how we approached it, that just kind of stuck around. That's kind of in the DNA of the show.
Yeah.
But we got to cut loose. Like, if you're listening to this and you never watched any of them.
Oh my gosh.
They're on the YouTube. There's Brews News. There's a whole playlist of just like
Brews News, fun sketches, Pirate Terry, another favorite of mine.
Financial Report with Captain Terry.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Oh man, the birthdays one.
I don't remember what's the birthdays one?
It's you telling you're saying all the. Hang on.
What?
It's under you saying all the like you're saying happy birthday to all these people. There's something in it that always made me laugh so hard.
The birthdays. I don't.
This one was, I think, more. You had more of an idea going into this one. It's so funny because like the camera we used to film it. Oh no, maybe okay, no, never mind. That was just YouTube rendering it. I was gonna say it looks like it's from the '80s, but that's just the picture that you were using. Bruce and Bruce watching DVDs. Commander's Brew birthday, community birthdays. Point counterpoint with the Audrix was great.
Yes.
And yeah, I think Captain Terry was a fun one. There's a couple. There's a bunch of great ones. There's one that got the most views of them. I think is the one where you spoofed the
professor as I reviewed some artifacts.
We should have just kept doing those. I mean, why didn't we?
I don't know.
They're really funny. Yeah, but so anyways, if there's a little like hidden trove of comedy if you haven't experienced it yet.
And I will recommend too, maybe I should go back and listen to it a few too. Like we used to at the end of the audio podcast, as we've said, maybe not explicitly, like we would interview the commander of one of the decks or something like that. Just I don't know if those old episodes hold up like the cards. I mean, it would be an interesting little time walk to just hear like talking about a card that's like, this card's 50 cents. And it's like, whoa, that card's like $20 now. Like we definitely hit a couple of those, but like those interviews are so fun. I would like to hear them again.
Yeah, me too. I know I knew that there were decks that we would brew to a hard $50 budget. That was the original premise of the show.
Yes.
Couldn't go over $50 with your budget. And I know that looking back at like our old tapped out link, that there's some decks on there that are like $800-900, even more maybe now.
Oh my god!
I remember seeing one. I was just like, what?
That started
like,
as cards, 50.
Yeah, that started as 50, and it's just cards becoming $20, $10, and all that. Before you know it, like more than half your cards that you've included are so much more expensive.
Dang.
Yeah, wild stuff. But hey, there we go. What's another thing? Battle of the Brews.
Battle of the Brews, of course.
Battle of the Brews is one of the things that is a prime example of that mentality of being a creator and going like, let's just do something and then we'll figure it out as we go.
Yep.
Where it's not necessarily like you need someone else who doesn't think that way. Because like I remember thinking like we should do that too. We should do a thing where we do a live gameplay series, and we should have it look a little different and all this. And then we should do, and like I think a Kickstarter would be good to like get us some of the gear we need and all that. And then we had some hiccups with it where we had some technical stuff with like the camera and everything.
Yeah.
And that was just unforeseen. Like we thought a 360 camera would be like,
oh goodness.
We thought it was going to be so good.
On paper, it's still a great idea. Imagine a 360-degree camera in the middle of the table, and the editor can just swing around to anyone's face, swing down to the board or whatever. Like on paper, it's perfect. We looked up the resolutions of these cameras. Like, they sound like good resolutions. But what we didn't realize is that the resolution that they say is the full 360 degrees of resolution. When you do cut into one person or one battlefield, you get terrible resolution. You can't see anything. You can't see anything.
Small. You couldn't see anything. Yeah.
And it took like 4 hours to stitch together a short video anyway, just before you could start working with it. It was a, you know what? I mean, at the time it was very frustrating. I get frustrated by technical errors like this sometimes where it's like, why won't this work? But what a learning moment.
It was a big time learning moment. And like, yeah, I mean, like there was a lot of work that was put into that.
Yeah.
And to have some things like that, not work out was frustrating. But by the time we got it up and running, it was chugging along. And like, it's really, honestly, the pandemic is the only reason we're not still doing those.
Yeah, it's true. I remember
I keep forgetting that.
As the pandemic was rolling in, we had a show booked. We had the theater booked to record, and we were like, we really had a conversation. We're like, should we everyone is canceling everything. The NBA canceled their season. Should we not go to the theater and film this? And we did not.
And we didn't, yeah.
And since then, that theater closed.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have access to that place anymore, which was sad in its own right. That Bad Dog is gone. I do know that they are currently looking for another place.
Yep.
So that's good for them. But for us, it's it's tough to find a spot that meets all the requirements for filming something like this. And I don't know. I mean, I was talking about, life stuff happening. Like, we both have had children.
That's right.
And you moved to a different city.
I did.
No, you're not like across the country or anything.
No, I'm an hour out.
Yeah. So it's not like you're, it's like impossible for us to get together or anything. But because of all these things, it's just small factors all just pile up, and we just haven't really been able to put a plan together to get Battle of the Brews back up and running. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but that's why it hasn't been around for, I mean, the pandemic is still happening technically. So
it is. I mean, and before we wrap the Battle of the Brews conversation, I do feel like we were really kind of, like you say, I think it's so great to learn on the fly. I think we were 16 episodes. We did about 16 episodes, and I think we were like just finally getting the hang of it, like towards the end there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, hitting the stride kind of. And people were liking it. So I don't know. I mean, hey, who knows? But I guess kind of transitioning out of just talking about the different like phases of the show, because the next one to talk about would just be kind of where we're at now,
right?
With Lost Cards being a new thing, and like really kind of tailoring the show more and more towards YouTube, because when you're recording a show like this, like I think that's just the natural progression. Once you've gone, like I said, once you're on a visual medium, you're going to start to spiff that up and try and make that look as good as possible, and make it work for that medium as well, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Not much to really talk about, other than I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite like moments doing the show?
Like,
I get to ask this because I'm leaving, so I want to know. Do you
mean like present era or all time?
All time.
One of my favorites was, traveling with you for the show, our highlights, right? We went to GP Las Vegas, one of the early ones.
We went to the second GP Vegas.
The second GP Vegas, man.
And the third.
Yeah, like
we
those.
Went the next year too.
And we man, I just loved picking your brain about decks and stuff like that. We on the plane ride over, we already did an episode about Epic Experiment, or we were about to do that episode, and we
did it.
We did it. Okay,
I think so. Yeah.
But that deck lived in our brains. Like we couldn't. You had the copy of it, and I had a list that I was like, I never did put my list together because you had yours. I was like, that's a great list. I'm not gonna. I can live vicariously through that. It would have been
fun for us each to have one, because then we could compare notes and talk about like which cards were working and stuff in our different versions.
True. But like on the plane ride, we would like we just kept we had laptops, or a laptop at least, with a catalog of all existing Magic cards at the time, because we couldn't get on the internet on the plane, or we didn't want to buy the internet.
Well, we just had Forge, right?
Right?
Yeah.
TG Forge. And we just we're just pouring through it, being like, how else can we tweak this? What else can we tune it with? Oh, that was a great moment. Yeah, like not it's not show related, but like I mean, it is show related because we were there for Commander's Brew, but like we were hanging out with other content people, and we ended up going to play a little game of werewolf, I guess. But we didn't play where we got there late, and I didn't realize this was. No, I don't think I think this is just supposed to be a party, but I guess everyone was playing werewolf. It was the most serious game of werewolf I've ever experienced. We were just sitting on the sidelines because we got there after it had begun. And I remember like we would like text, like I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, it was intense.
It was intense. I didn't want to speak out loud because I was like, I don't want to like disturb this. Like this is like Ben Stark's here. Like I don't want to like
yeah.
I don't want to like
yeah.
like
yeah, it was a huge game of like pro Magic players and poker players.
Yeah. They were like gaming it. They were like, well, you wouldn't have said this because this is what you said, and I know why you're saying that because you're trying to do this, and this is like next level, next.
They were talking about tells,
yeah,
and like all this stuff, and it was so. These were gamers. These are people who study their games and are the top at their games, right? Like the top professional poker players, professional Magic players. Like
so, I don't.
These are the most skilled people.
I when they say everyone close your eyes. And then the werewolves do their thing. I also closed my eyes because I was just like, if I know who the werewolves are, someone's going to see it on my face. So I don't want to like know. I don't want to know. But we started like texting each other jokes. Like what we would say if this was like, if we were writing this movie, here's the hilarious lines that the characters of us would say. And of course, everything is like a million times funnier when you're trying not to laugh.
Yeah, when you can't like just outright talk, and you couldn't. It was that intense.
It was
and, like,
so intense.
I've talked to people like that's the only game of werewolf I've ever seen people play at that time. So like, I remember coming out of it and you just being like, "Oh, it's not normally like that."
No.
And I'm like, "Is that what it's always like? Is it that crazy?" And like, I remember like I'd stopped on the way to get like I pick up a 6-pack of beer for Jimmy. He's like, "Hey, can you grab me beers on the way?" And I'm like, "Great, I'll get myself some beers. I'll pick up Jimmy's beers." We get there, and it's not like we're gonna drink a 6-pack of beers party.
No,
it's just not.
It may have begun with that intention, but it was not that.
But it certainly it never got there. And then I don't know. I feel like we just took off when they were like in the finishing stages of that. But it was super intense. Like Seth Mansfield was there. Is that his name?
Yep.
He was there. Ben Stark was there. There was someone else. Another really, really huge Magic Pro was there. It's the only interactions I've ever had with any of the. And I didn't even have any interactions with them. We were just in the same room.
That's the thing. We were in the room. We experienced some of this werewolf game. And then as people got eliminated, murdered, you know how the game goes, they started shrinking the circle of chairs. We were all in the perimeter of a very large room. But we were like left out of the shrinking circle because we were never in it. And then there was a point where we were just like, this just feel, but now we feel excluded. We might as well leave.
Yeah, I think also one
Gavin Verhey was there. Were we?
Yeah, Gavin. Yes, Gavin was there. Cause remember Gavin, Jimmy, and like Alex Kessler showed up.
Right.
Late, remember?
Yeah, they showed up after us.
What's going on? And then we started texting with them and like texting them jokes and stuff. But there was a point where Sean and I thought we were playing. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Do you remember when we first sat down? We were like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll work us into the game on like the next round or something."
Yeah.
So we were like doing all the closing eyes thing and everything. We were doing it all, and then it's like I remember eventually just being like, "Oh, no one's talking to us." Like,
no, we don't exist.
We don't exist.
We don't exist in this room.
And like, it's not everyone was just being intense about this game. It's not like it was.
Yeah, I don't want to say that like there was no slights. There was no. This was not rude. This was what it was.
Ruben
Bresler,
right? I can never remember if there's an R or not. But Ruben actually was a super nice host. He was running the game.
Yeah.
And he was super intense about the game. But I'll never forget, like, once it calmed down a little bit and once like we were once more people were talking, he came over to us and was super nice, and
Yeah.
it was, very, very nice of him to have us in his place, even though he didn't
Yeah.
really know who we were. But yeah, this is a really funny, just super
I mean,
intense moment.
I guess like the to loop back on the question, my favorite, the cliche, it's like it's the friends you made along the way, I suppose. Those are my favorite memories. It's not any specific deck or any specific like, joke, but it's just, like like hanging out, pal stuff, like just, those meaningful moments.
Which I'm one of the reasons why I really thought about not doing this is because of that stuff. Like, I don't want to not go to the next
Yeah.
fun thing. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't want to not go to Vegas or whatever. So maybe I don't know.
GP Toronto.
Don't necessarily have to not do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the that's the real reward, I guess, from
Yeah.
doing something like this for this long is that
Yeah.
you get to go and like meet people who listen to your show, and then like hang out with them and play with them and stuff. And it's been like, I've just had fun the couple of times we got to play with the people in our Discord,
Yeah.
just getting to play some online games, even like during the pandemic, and with patrons has been really honestly, every game we played with those guys has been really cool and really fun. It's we say it all the time, but like it's great when you have like-minded people, and what better way to find other like-minded Magic players than to make a podcast with your specific voice, and then have those people also share that voice and become a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know how to end these episodes, right? We I'm not saying we got to end it, but we are nearing an average episode length.
Yes, we are. So, we are coming up on the ending of this, and
I'm in this thing too where I'm just like, well, as long as we never say the podcast is over, then Andy never stops hosting the show.
Yeah, I guess I'll say at the end here that we've always treated Commander's Brew as like an arching, like, I don't want to say brand because that's such like a thing to say, but that's what it is, right? It's like the dome over everything that we do, kind of. That's like the name of it.
Yeah.
Battle of the Brews and like whatever else we may have been doing at the time, like the sketches and stuff like that. So I feel like the door is, well, it certainly is, because Sean and I created this thing together. We still both like own this thing and are part of this thing. I'm just not going to be doing the podcast anymore, but like I feel like we still have lots of room for doing other things, with Commander's Brew. Commander's Brew is not going away.
Yeah. No, it is not.
Think.
No,
Right,
not planning
John?
to. Right. I mean, like I've not put, it's not a. I haven't had a lot of time to plan, or whatever. Like this is, this realization kind of dawned on you a bit quickly. This was not months like in the
Sean
calendar.
I called you, like Monday?
Something like that. Is that how quick it was? Yeah, it might have been.
I think it was Monday.
Yeah. Today is Thursday. So, yeah, just this week. So, I mean, I don't have, but like, I do know that something will happen. We'll do something.
Yeah. So, stay tuned basically. But, and again, like I said, in the future, there could be something where I get back involved. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the door open for that. But this particular door is going to be closed for now, which is a bummer. But like I said, it's for the best. And I just wanted to thank Sean for being, an amazing co-host and co-runner of this whole thing, co-producer, and for really like, I don't know, like really being the bones of this thing, the like like the strength, like the heart of it, in the way that like I almost feel like there would be moments where like I'd come to you with an idea and then you would figure out how we did it. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
Like there would be moments where I'm like, we should do like something like sketches like this, and then you would like shape it into something that was like something we could actually do, like the news format, or if it was Battle of the Brews or whatever it was, a Kickstarter, things like that. Like it's easy to come up with those stuff. It's harder to be the person who pulls them off, and I feel like you did most of the pulling off of stuff for a lot of it. So that's why I think this show wouldn't be anywhere at all. Like I could have tried to start a podcast with someone else and it would probably not have worked, after a couple episodes, but because it was you, we're 325 episodes in and I'm leaving.
325. Wow.
Right?
Well, I mean, that is kind of you to say, but this is a team effort. I will continue to do stuff with the show. The show is not ending, but it'll be different for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it, honestly. I also want to say thanks to everyone who's listened and supported us and me through all these 325 episodes. Patrons, listeners, viewers, friends. We've said it many times on lots of different episodes, but we wouldn't have been able to do this for this long without everyone like just being a part of it. And whether it's a like physical, like giving money to the show or supporting in that way, or like buying cards from one of the sponsors, Wizards Tower, who's been our sponsor for the whole time, which has been pretty incredible. The show. These are other reasons why I was able to do this for 325 episodes and have it outlive my tenure on the thing, which is kind of a satisfying thing, actually.
Yeah.
There's a certain satisfaction of being like, this thing can live on without you.
Yeah.
It's like watching a child go to school or something.
Aww.
Which Harry's doing on Monday for the first time. So, yeah. Anyways, so thank you. And I'll still be doing stuff. Probably not in the next little while because I have no time to, but sometime in the future, I'm sure we'll talk again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both you, Sean, and you listening and watching this right now.
Yep.
Now I feel like Steve from Blue's Clues talking to people. But
Oh, Steve, remember? Anyway, I don't want to tangent at this point. That was very sweet, Andy. That was a nice. Yeah. It's been a great run. So, everything I say seems like it's an ending, and in a way it is, but it also isn't. So I don't want to I don't know what to say. The words don't feel correct, but gratitude, endless gratitude, and laughs. The laughs we've shared. Ooh, yeah. We will continue to share the laughs. Nothing's. Yeah, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to do. I don't know the things to say, because we will still chat. We will still, talk about Magic cards from time to time. Not nearly as frequently, but
right. That's another thing. It's been. I mean, it's a weird thing when you do a show like this. Like Sean and I, we speak twice a week.
Yeah. Because
we have like a meeting, like a pre-show meeting, like on like earlier in the week. But like, there's outside of my immediate family, like my wife and kids, I don't talk to anyone that much.
It's true.
Like,
me neither.
like we talk over Zoom and stuff like that now, but like face to face that style. Like even that, I don't. Like I text with my other friends for sure, but like that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's really it's sad to lose that, but yeah, but it's been great. It's been great to be able to do that for the last 6 years.
It's been great. It's been great.
So thank you, my friend. Yeah, it's been great.
Agreed.
Well, that's it.
Yep.
That's it. Go check out this deck tech. It's up at Wizards Tower.
Yeah.
MTG.
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, guys, it's been real, and I'll see everyone around.
Yep. Thanks, Andy.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.